These underground spaces underneath each house were known to people and they were using it for storage because it's quite cold. But what they didn't know is that they were all connected. And what an incredible sight. I happily got lost in this network of caves, thought to be at least 1900 years old and estimated to once being inhabited by up to 70,000 people.
Archaeologists in Turkey have just cracked open something that was never meant to be found. We are talking about underground chambers that have been locked away, sealed tight and hidden from the world for over 2,800 years. When they finally broke through the stone barriers, the air that rushed out was from a different time. These aren't just one or two lucky finds. We are looking at multiple sites all across Turkey, where researchers have smashed through walls that haven't been touched since the Bronze Age. Take the Gordion Royal Tomb, for example. When the team finally got inside, they saw something that defies logic. There were dozens of bronze vessels, bowls, cups, and ceremonial items hanging on the walls. But the crazy part is that they were hanging exactly where someone placed them 28 centuries ago. They hadn't fallen.
Savaşlardan dolayı yaşam gördüğünüz gibi bu alanlarda işlik, depolama, yatakhane, ahır, ibadet yerleri mevcut olup yaşam olduğu gibi yer altındaydı.
The nails hadn't rusted away. The layout was perfectly preserved, frozen in a single moment of time that has lasted for thousands of years. It's the kind of thing that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, but believe it or not, that is just the beginning of this story. If you go under the town of Midyat, things get even more intense. Excavation teams there have mapped out a massive underground city. We are talking about a few small basements. This place spans nearly 900,000 square meters. So far, they have cleared out 50 rooms and mapped over 120 meters of tunnels. But they estimate they have only found a tiny fraction of what is actually down there. These aren't just natural caves that people decided to camp in. These are engineered complexes. They have rolling stone doors that weigh tons. They have multi-level passages and chambers carved with a level of mathematical precision that challenges everything we believed ancient people could do. The discoveries just keep coming, one after another. Every time they open a sealed room, they find artifacts that force archaeologists to throw out their old timelines. They have to question the fundamental assumptions we have about human capability. But here is the thing that really has researchers whispering in the hallways. The preservation is perfect. It is like stepping into a time capsule. Some of these chambers show zero contamination from the outside world. There is no dust from the modern era, no pollen, nothing. It is June 25. The excavation team at Gordion is breaking through the final layer of ancient stone blocking a burial chamber. They are sweating, they are nervous, and they don't know what to expect. Then, they see wooden beams. Now, usually, wood rots away after a few hundred years. But these beams are still intact after 2,200 years. They haven't rotted. They haven't collapsed. They are perfectly preserved. Dr. Gareth Derbyshire from the University of Pennsylvania was standing right there when they opened it. He described the feeling of walking into a room where those bronze vessels still hung from their original iron nails. There were dozens of them. Cauldrons, incense burners, ceremonial jugs, all sitting exactly where mourners placed them for a king's eternal journey. Here is what sent chills down their spines. The chamber showed absolutely no signs of disturbance. There were no grave robbers. There was no water damage. There were no signs that animals had ever burrowed in. It is like whoever sealed this tomb knew exactly how to preserve it for thousands of years. They understood something about preservation that we are just now figuring out. The underground city at Midyat tells an even more incredible story. When archaeologists first broke through into the place they call Midyat, they found chambers carved with absolute precision. They found ventilation shafts that still work today. Think about that. Air systems built nearly 3,000 years ago that still cycle fresh air underground. They found drainage systems that would impress modern engineers. And all of this was carved from solid rock around the 9th century BC. These were not crude cave dwellings for primitive people. The stonework shows tool marks that suggest they were using advanced techniques we didn't think they had. Some walls even bear faint inscriptions. Researchers are now analyzing these marks using AI systems like DeepScribe from the University of Chicago. This technology is amazing. It can decode ancient writing with 80% accuracy, even when the text is so faded that the human eye can't even see it. Imagine being the first human being to step into a world that has been untouched for thousands of years. Your flashlight cuts through a darkness that has existed since before the city of Rome was even founded. Every step you take leads you deeper into mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew. If these chambers were sealed this carefully, it means someone wanted their contents preserved. They didn't just want to hide them, they wanted to save them. This raises a massive question. Preserve for who? And why now? After all these millennia, are we finally uncovering them? Here is where the story gets absolutely mind-blowing. Turkey sits right at the crossroads where early humans first migrated out of Africa and into Europe. DNA studies have already proven that Anatolian farmers were the ancestors of nearly all modern Europeans. But what if these sealed chambers contain human remains that don't match any known population? We have seen this happen before. Look at what happened in Siberia. Scientists found a single tooth and a finger bone in a place called Denisova Cave. That tiny fragment revealed an entirely unknown branch of humanity called the Denisovans. These weren't Neanderthals, and they weren't modern humans. They were something completely different that had been living alongside us for thousands of years. Turkey's underground complexes could be hiding the exact same kind of revelation. The preservation in these sealed environments is so perfect that DNA could survive intact. Imagine if researchers extract genetic material that shows a lost lineage of humans who built these incredible underground cities. We are talking about rewriting the entire story of human migration and development. These weren't primitive cave dwellers. The engineering in places like Derinkuyu and Midyat proves they had advanced planning and a sophisticated understanding of physics and geology. Could Anatolia be hiding its own lost branch of humanity? It is a question that makes you rethink everything. The preservation is so incredible that organic materials survive perfectly. We are talking about wood, fabric, and most importantly, written records. Because what comes next isn't about bones or tools. It is about something humanity may have once written and then lost. We are looking at a written word mystery. Faint markings on chamber walls across multiple Turkish sites are sending archaeologists into overdrive. These aren't just random scratches or graffiti. They show deliberate patterns that suggest a systematic form of writing. The University of Chicago's DeepScribe AI system is already working on these inscriptions. This technology can decode cuneiform tablets with incredible accuracy, even when the writing is practically invisible. But here is what has researchers losing sleep at night. Some of these wall carvings appear to be older than the known Hittite scripts. We could be looking at unknown languages from civilizations that existed before recorded history even began. Think about the implications of that. A single sentence carved into that stone could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. Who were these people? What kind of knowledge did they possess? And why did they go to such extreme lengths to preserve their words in sealed chambers? The Hittites ruled one of history's greatest empires, yet we have huge gaps in our understanding of their culture. Lost texts from these sealed chambers could fill those gaps instantly. Even more exciting, some inscriptions might represent writing systems that came before the Sumerians. That would push back the timeline of human literacy by centuries, maybe even millennia. AI analysis has already begun on samples from the Gordion Tomb and the Midyat chambers. The results are expected within months. But the real reason historians are staying silent may not be what was written, but what was buried alongside it. These are the forbidden relics. The Gordion Royal Tomb reveals exactly the kind of objects that make archaeologists nervous. Dozens of bronze vessels, iron cauldrons, and ceremonial incense burners were found perfectly preserved. But here is what is really interesting. These aren't just normal burial goods. The arrangement suggests a ritual purpose that goes way beyond simple grave offerings. The vessels show wear patterns indicating they were used in ceremonies before they were buried. Some bronze pieces display symbols that don't match known Phrygian or Hittite iconography. Researchers are being extremely cautious about releasing detailed images or interpretations. This isn't unusual in archaeology. When objects don't fit the established timelines, institutions often delay publication for years. The academic review process becomes a bottleneck that can effectively silence discoveries. Consider what happened with the Antikythera mechanism. It sat in storage for decades because it was too advanced for its supposed time period. Sometimes, the safest career move for a scientist is to say nothing at all. The sealed chambers across Turkey could contain artifacts that challenge fundamental assumptions about ancient technological capabilities. We might be looking at bronze work techniques that seem too advanced for the time. We might find astronomical instruments that shouldn't exist yet. We might find religious objects that predate known belief systems. Officials at excavation sites have become notably tight-lipped about specific finds beyond the basic descriptions. This isn't just another cave discovery. It is a discovery powerful enough to silence the very people who study history for a living. Here's the thing about archaeology. It isn't just about digging up objects. It is about controlling narratives. If you discover something that doesn't fit the timeline, sometimes the safest option is silence. But there is also a geological bombshell here. Turkey sits on one of Earth's most geologically active regions. The North Anatolian fault system has been generating earthquakes for millions of years. But those same fault lines create perfect preservation conditions in underground chambers. Volcanic ash layers in Turkish caves preserve organic material like nowhere else on Earth. Scientists can identify specific eruption events that happened thousands of years ago just by examining the soil layers. But some cave layers show evidence of something far more dramatic. They found traces of melted rock, unusual soot deposits, and mineral formations that suggest exposure to extreme heat from above, not from below. These geological signatures could indicate ancient meteor impacts or massive solar flare events that early humans witnessed firsthand. We're talking about the kind of catastrophic events that would be burned into cultural memory for generations. This connects directly to Anatolian mythology. Ancient Hittite texts describe gods hurling fire from the sky. Greek legends place the entrance to Hades in Turkish caves. They tell stories of underworld gates and divine punishment through celestial fire. What if these weren't just myths? What if they were eyewitness accounts passed down through oral tradition? Geologists studying Turkish cave systems have found evidence of at least 3 major impact events over the last 10,000 years. Each one would have created environmental chaos across the region. The preservation in sealed chambers means organic evidence of these events could still exist. We might find charred wood, ash layers, or even human remains showing exposure to intense heat. But if natural disaster traces are there, what else might be sealed alongside them? Perhaps something was deliberately hidden before the catastrophe struck. This brings us to the chilling links between mythology and religion. Ancient Hittite texts describe elaborate underworld journeys through sealed stone doors. They wrote about descending through multiple levels to reach the realm of the dead. Does that sound familiar? Because that is exactly what archaeologists are finding in places like Derinkuyu and Midyat. They are finding multi-level underground complexes with stone doors that can be sealed from the inside. Greek mythology places the entrance to Hades somewhere in Anatolia. Scholars have spent centuries trying to map these mythical locations to real Turkish geography. The more they dig, the more the myths align with actual cave systems. The Bible mentions giants and strange beings in these same regions. References to the Nephilim consistently point to areas that are now yielding incredible archaeological discoveries. But here is what is really mind-blowing. These weren't just stories. Ancient people had direct access to these underground complexes. They knew about the sealed chambers and hidden passages because they built them and used them. The religious implications are staggering. Major world religions trace their origins through this exact region. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all have foundational stories connected to Anatolian geography. What if the sealed chambers contain religious artifacts or texts that predate established religious timelines? Imagine finding objects that show spiritual practices existed here thousands of years before we thought organized religion began. Think about it. For centuries, myths spoke of hidden gates to the underworld in Anatolia. Now archaeologists are literally finding sealed doors underground. The line between myth and archaeology is thinner than we think. This discovery fundamentally changes who we are as a species. Turkey sits at the absolute center of human migration out of Africa. Every major civilization either passed through or originated in this region. The sealed chambers could contain genetic evidence that rewrites the entire story of human development. We are talking about potential proof of unknown human populations that possessed advanced engineering capabilities 3,000 years ago. Religious communities worldwide are watching these excavations closely. Any text or artifact that predates established religious timelines could trigger massive theological debates. But the impact goes beyond academia and religion. These discoveries prove that ancient peoples possessed knowledge and capabilities we have massively underestimated. We're looking at underground cities that could house 20,000 people. We see ventilation systems that still function perfectly. We see engineering that rivals modern standards. This isn't just about the past. It is about recognizing human potential that we have forgotten existed. The economic implications are enormous too. Turkey has already seen massive increases in archaeological tourism. Each new discovery draws more researchers and more funding to the region. This cave may hold the missing chapter that connects ancient Anatolia to the rise of the first great cities. Every sealed chamber opened reveals that our ancestors were far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. They weren't primitive cave dwellers. They were master engineers, accomplished writers, and sophisticated planners. And if you thought Turkey's underground world ended here, wait until you see the scale of what else lies below. The scale is absolutely terrifying. The underground city at Midyat spans nearly 900,000 square meters. That is bigger than 126 football fields, all carved from solid rock over 26,800 years ago. Archaeologists have cleared 50 rooms so far. They have mapped to 120 meters of connecting tunnels, but ground-penetrating radar shows they have only uncovered about 5% of the total complex. This isn't unique to Midyat. Derinkuyu and Cappadocia could shelter 20,000 people plus their livestock. They have multiple levels extending 85 meters underground. They have ventilation shafts that still function perfectly today. These weren't temporary hiding places. They were fully functional underground cities with stables, storage rooms, chapels, and meeting halls. People lived their entire lives down there when surface conditions became dangerous. But here is what is truly staggering. Remote sensing technology reveals dozens of similar complexes across Turkey that remain completely unexplored. Thermal imaging from satellites shows underground voids that could rival or exceed the size of Derinkuyu. If we are just beginning to open sealed chambers now, imagine what else lies untouched across Anatolia. The mathematics of it all are overwhelming. Turkey has thousands of documented cave systems. Most have never been properly surveyed. Ground-penetrating radar consistently reveals hidden chambers and connecting passages that maps never showed. We are talking about an entire hidden civilization that lived parallel to surface communities for thousands of years. Now, let's get into the specifics that prove this isn't speculation. Derinkuyu's underground city housed up to 20,000 people across multiple levels. The engineering includes sophisticated ventilation systems, rolling stone doors, and defensive choke points to stop invaders. The city at Midyat covers 90 hectares underground. 50 rooms have been cleared and documented. Over 120 meters of tunnels have been mapped so far. Dating confirms construction around the 9th century BC. The Gordion Royal Tomb contained dozens of bronze vessels still hanging from iron nails on the walls. The wooden burial chamber remained intact for 2,200 years. Archaeologists believe it belonged to the dynasty of King Midas. At Blondus in western Turkey, researchers have uncovered hundreds of rock-cut tombs from the Roman era. Many were sealed with marble doors, with elaborate decorations preserved perfectly underground. These aren't isolated discoveries. They represent a systematic pattern of underground preservation across Turkey spanning thousands of years. The preservation conditions in these sealed environments are so perfect that organic materials survive indefinitely. Wood doesn't rot. Fabric doesn't decay. Even DNA remains intact. These finds prove sealed underground worlds are real, and they are just the beginning. Every major excavation in Turkey reveals more complexity than initially expected. What starts as a single tomb becomes a network of chambers. A simple cave system becomes a multi-level city. The sealed chambers across Turkey aren't isolated mysteries. They are part of humanity's largest archaeological puzzle, spanning thousands of years and multiple civilizations. What archaeologists have pulled from these underground complexes proves our ancestors possessed knowledge and capabilities we have systematically underestimated. We see advanced engineering. We see sophisticated preservation techniques. We see complex social organization, but we have only scratched the surface, literally. Remote sensing reveals underground voids across Anatolia that dwarf current discoveries. Sealed chambers that have remained untouched since Bronze Age civilizations deliberately closed them. What they pulled out reminds us history isn't fully written. Whole chapters still wait underground, sealed, silent, and waiting to be heard. The silence from historians isn't about cover-ups. It is about the overwhelming implications of rewriting everything we thought we knew about human development and ancient capabilities. Each sealed door that opens reveals that our past is far more complex and sophisticated than we ever imagined. These discoveries don't just add details to history. They are forcing us to completely reconsider what ancient peoples could achieve. When those doors open, humanity may discover its own forgotten past, staring back. The next breakthrough could happen tomorrow. Ground-penetrating radar has identified sealed chambers that show no signs of disturbance. Perfect preservation conditions mean organic materials are waiting to tell their stories after millennia of silence. The past is not dead. It is just waiting underground. If you want to be here the moment those doors finally open, make sure you are watching closely. The history books are about to change forever.